We've learned a lot about what to do on how to help young people exit homelessness in ways that are positive, but also prevention, right? And so early intervention strategies that we're now starting to implement in Canada. So school-based early intervention strategies like Upstream or Youth Reconnect can be implemented anywhere. And schools are a perfect place to put in supports because every young person who's homeless was in school once, and often there was an adult who knew. We need to work on enhancing family and natural supports in everything we do, right? Not see the family as the problem, but that young people, all people, need natural supports. But for exiting homelessness, this is an important question because, and this comes back to the damage that we were talking about that comes with exposure to homelessness. The research on youth exiting homelessness paints a compelling picture, but not in a very positive way. What we find is that young people, when they leave the streets, aren't doing well. They're not recovering. They're often malnourished. They're often living in extreme poverty and fearful of becoming homeless again. They're not re-engaging with employment and education. They're not overcoming social exclusion. And so that whole bootstrap method can contribute to a lifelong series of problems for young people. So we have to have models of support. And there are some good ones out there. One of the made in Canada ones is Housing First for Youth, which is an adaptation of Housing First, designed to meet the needs of developing adolescents and young adults. And so as a model, it has core guiding principles that focus on what do young people need, that take a real positive youth development approach, that kind of thing. The models of housing have to be thought of differently than for adults. So for many young people, it may be returning home is the starting place for housing and building up the family supports. Mike Lethby of the Raft in Niagara region says, he's got this great line where the biggest provider of affordable housing for youth in Canada is the family. So we need to do that. Like putting a 16-year-old in scattered site housing probably isn't a good idea, but there's really good transitional housing models in Canada. One of the international ones is the foyer. But then other young people, the goal has to be that they eventually can live independently. But that's the goal for any young person. But we have to allow people to make changes, change their mind. Young people in Canada often move out and then move back home. We have to find ways to support people. And then the models of support have to really focus on well-being, not just housing stabilization. Have to focus on engagement in education and employment if the young person's ready and able. Have to take a trauma-informed care approach. Have to build out the things necessary for them to overcome social exclusion. For Indigenous youth, we have to really focus on cultural reconnection. There's two really good examples of Housing First for Youth that are Indigenous focused. One in Hamilton is called Endayang, and what they're doing is incredible around supporting young people to develop into adulthood, but doing it through Indigenous-led supports and cultural reconnection. So these things aren't just random things that we're claiming work without evidence. We're actually doing research on them now, and the outcomes for the Housing First for Youth projects that we're engaged in are actually very surprising in a positive way. And so we need to do these kind of things rather than just the minimum and let young people work it out, because that's not fair and it's not effective.